That's it. Half decent, wasn't it? Should we have a look? Just about holding on to the lead. Really trying to push me right to left here. Just shows how quickly the weather can change, doesn't it? Blue skies, grey skies.
So big baits for this session. We've got a pulley pennel with 5/0 packed there with squid and lug. Well, it's a waiting game, this sort of fishing really. You're only after one species. It is best to hold the rod. This is a continental rod, but I've been using it for a bit of bassing and light fishing recently, and we'll have a look at that later. I use this rig here for all my close-in bass fishing. Real simple one. There's a link for it there. And then the other tip, of course, is to always bait up away from all this surf. Not like here. You can see it looks like really good conditions, doesn't it? We've got surf in close, and you don't have to cast far. You're really looking, as you're looking at those waves there, that second breaker there is pretty good. I'm waiting for those taps. Really hard to hold bottom here. Tide's taking it right to left, which is west to east.
Well, I've got the rod in the rod rest there. Should really be holding it. I'll spend a bit of today holding this rod. You can see from the conditions what we might be after. We've had a bit of rough weather. Oh, as always, I'm hoping for a bass today, but it's a great time of year. You've got the crossover of the spring species and summer species coming in, so yes, there might be some schoolie bass, but there still might be some place, dab, still, flounder, and if I can't catch those, I'm sure there's a dogfish somewhere. I do love the sky like this as well. So yeah, we're out fishing again. Not quite on the lures yet, but next week I'll certainly be casting out the lures because we're into June and things will change. I think everyone starts too early on the lure fishing and doesn't fish late enough into the winter. Water's clearing up a little bit, that gully water's going. So we're back at a different state of the tide now. This is just off high tide, half an hour to go. Sometimes when you look at this water, you get a lot of backwash off the shingle, as it goes up the steep bit of the shingle. And I've actually got, and we've got a 3-hook flapper on, which isn't the best way of targeting bass, but this time of year there are quite a few schoolies about, and you do pick up some on the lugworm baits, because in front of us here are where the lugworm are. So that's the theory. As always, you never know. You don't normally get a big fish either on a 3-hook flapper. So with the Colmic, you are getting little taps on there, but because it's a continental, it could well be something really small. But have a look, there's definitely something on there. Something on, it's not a bass. It is a pouting. It's quite big for these parts. That pouting. That was a good bite. Good little tap and then nothing. The bait's in quite close. That was a good little rattle. What I'm feeling for is something a little bit firmer, and then I'll just set the hook. You don't strike really in sea fishing. I don't know. Hey! Just a little dogfish. One of the things you can do with dogfish is stop them wrapping round. You see how it's trying to wrap round, trying to wrap me on me. Just hold it like that. You have to be a bit tough with them to get the hook out. Like that. If I get a bigger one, you do a catch and cook with these. And they're pretty tough, so hopefully that'll go back alright. Sticking back. That was more of a real sort of tappy tap rattle. You see it? More likely to be a flatfish, that one. Half decent, wasn't it? Should we have a look? It's sometimes worth letting these develop a little bit, especially with the 3 hooks. Just having a feel. And again, this is a great thing about this lunar surf. You're more inclined to pick it up and have a feel. With the old heavier beach casters, you don't tend to do that. Amazing how this weather changes, isn't it? Properly blue skies. And how our luck changes. Little tap on the rod here. I think we'll just leave that. I'm going to put that back in a rest, because that felt like a flatfish bite, and they'll just eat the way up the worm. So we'll put it back and have a little wait, and then come back to it in a minute. Well, I thought we had a rattle. That is a lovely little dab. Look at that. Nice and fat. And although that looks like a small flatfish, that's not bad for what we want today. And that's gonna go home for my tea. Well, lovely. I do love a dab, and as we've said in the channel, to identify a dab, you've got that little circle bit there, and it's rough. It's rough to the touch, back like that. And then the eyes sit on the left-hand side of the the fish. Beautiful. That's for tea. You can see the gully waters going. Oh, just had a good little bite again. Keep your eye on that rod. It's another dogfish. That's a slightly bigger one, isn't it? Nice. And that will be within the minimum size as well. So we're going to do a catch and cook with that, I think. We're going to do a catch and cook with that one. So as I say, wrap your hands on it.
So actually looking back, that was a good sized pouting. A very good sized dogfish, couple of pounds, not bad for this stretch of coast. And the dab was a good fish as well. That's the biggest one I've had this year. So almost little records there. £2 for a dogfish is quite good as well. I didn't have to cast far for any of those fish today. They all came within about an hour at the top of the tide, and it was consecutive casts for each of those fish in the end. So it just goes to show knowing when to fish can be quite important as well. And then obviously scaling down that bait where we started with big bass baits the previous day, and actually caught a lot more on a smaller 3-hook flapper. So the plan kind of worked. Fishing close in on the way home, I popped in to see Mick down at the East Hastings Sea Angling Club. He's going to show us a good way to fillet a dogfish. Well worth doing this, and it tasted really nice as well.
I've made that knife like a razor because this skin's tough. Snip the tail off. Now, some people remove the head, but I've never removed the head. Makes it harder. So now you've got them fins. Right now it's the flaps on the thing, so if you sort of just run that up, you can always trim it afterwards if it's... It's important that you make sure that's cut all the way, otherwise it won't peel. I peel the... What I tend to do is make a nice V here. I'll leave that a minute to see if that'll do it. Right now it's a bit like opening a tin of sardines. It don't always work every time. Some are...
And then unfortunately we lost a little bit of the audio here, but you can see what he's doing, which is getting that really tough skin, winding it round and round on the pliers. You might have to reset them. You're gripping them really hard. You can see it just pulls that skin off. And then you get to a certain point, if you've cut the end here, see how he's doing that with a Stanley blade. And it's a case of just ripping that skin off. So thanks for that, Mick. I'll certainly consider cooking these again. And all I did was just fry it in butter, but of course you can deep fat fry them if you want. They're also sold as rock salmon, so yeah, thanks for that. Tasted very nice.